Greetings everyone and welcome to True Crime Cast. In this short video, we are going to be delving into what has come up recently about the Idaho 4 murder case. Now we all know Bryan Kohberger has been arrested and charged in this case, but what has come out recently is the fact that people are coming forward as anonymous sources and giving details about what happened inside and where and how the bodies were found. The evidence that we have received from interviews with the coroner and from the actual police affidavit that was released has two stories. One where all four victims were found inside their beds, brutally murdered, and that was from the coroner. And then the affidavit stated that Kaylee and Maddie were found on the third floor in one single bed. But in that affidavit, it also states when the police officer came up on Xana's room, Xana was found just inside the doorway, and Ethan was found inside the room, not stating whether or not he was in the bed or on the floor. But from the affidavit, it would appear that Xana was found first, and then Ethan would be behind her further in the room, which would lend to the fact that he was probably the victim found in the bed, which would also make more sense that it was his blood that we saw coming out of the side of the house because the bed was pressed against that wall where you saw the blood on the outside. Now recently, in the last few days, anonymous sources have been coming forward and stating that they know the order of which all the victims were killed and where they were found, even though none of this has been released to the public, with these same anonymous sources reporting that they know the order to which each victim was murdered, how they were murdered, and where they ended up in the house. So according to these sources, Bryan Kohberger entered the third floor bedroom of Maddie and Kaylee, murdering them, then made his way down the steps, ran into Ethan outside of Xana's bedroom where he murdered him, leaving him outside the door in the hallway. Bryan Kohberger then would have went inside that bedroom where Xana tried to fight him off. Early in the case, it was reported by her father and coroners that she had defensive wounds, and then these sources are also saying that she was the one found in the bed and it was her blood that was leaking out of the side of the house. It was also reported that Xana's defensive wounds were so bad that apparently during her attack she was grabbing the knife and her fingers were almost severed off. So what we have currently is two different stories. One from the official reporting that states what we already know, and now these anonymous sources. I'm not really sure how credible this new information is from these sources, but it does lend to a new theory. If you kind of take what the police coroner and these sources are reporting, it paints a new picture where Bryan Kohberger either entered the house from the third floor, maybe coming through the tree line, or if you look on the back of the house, it is not very hard for a tall person like him to be able to climb up onto that third level balcony. What if he entered from their balcony, a door that would probably be unlocked, went in and murdered the two girls, Maddie and Kaylee, and then as he was making his escape, ran into Ethan, who just happened to hear something, so he stepped out of the room to investigate just as Bryan Kohberger was coming down those steps. Bryan Kohberger would then kill Ethan right there in the hallway. Xana, probably being in shock at first, wouldn't react, but probably had just enough time to try to escape the room and get by Bryan Kohberger, which would explain the horrible defensive wounds that are being reported that she has. After murdering her and probably being flustered by the whole situation, Bryan would have exited the house as quickly and as straightforward as he possibly could, which would have been the back door, which is what was reported by Dylan, that he quickly walked past her, going out the back sliding glass door. The fact that he chose to leave out the back sliding glass door also lends to that maybe being the direction that he came into the house, meaning he entered through that sliding door. He could have entered on the balcony like I just stated, or perhaps he just came through the front door. There was a report early in this case that said the front door was actually seen open at around 8:30 or 9 that morning. So maybe he came in that way, possibly when Xana had picked up her Jack-in-the-Box off the front porch from her DoorDash. So maybe the door didn't shut all the way. We do know that early in this case there was a report that Kaylee's dad had come over and replaced some locks on the house. Maybe something was still messed up, or maybe he hadn't replaced them all. Maybe this played a role in it. It still would have meant that Bryan Kohberger would have had to enter through that door, go up one flight of steps past the two bedrooms that were there, go around a corner, go past Ethan and Xana's room, go up another flight of stairs, get into the bedroom with Kaylee and Maddie, murder them, and then come downstairs, murder Xana and Ethan, and then exit the property, using a completely different door than what he used to enter the building. Now with all this said, there's still two things that always stick in the back of my mind. You had four people brutally murdered and almost nothing was heard by the other two roommates. If Ethan had been killed in the hallway in front of his bedroom, I think you would have heard screams or at least a scuffle, and there would have been yelling of some kind, and Xana would have immediately been screaming because she picked up her DoorDash at 4 a.m. and had to eat it, and then cell phone records show that at 4:12 during these murders, she was actively on TikTok, so it's highly unlikely she could have fallen asleep so quickly, but not impossible. And the second thing that I just can't shake is that people don't seem to realize that Bryan Kohberger came to their house on 12 different occasions and was basically stalking them. All 12 of those times he left his phone on. plan. But on this occasion, he turned his phone off before leaving his house to commit these murders. And I mean, he left to commit these murders. So maybe he had what he thought was a well thought out plan of how he was going to enter and exit. And who knows, maybe the fact that Kaylee was there was the reason that he did it that night, or maybe he wasn't expecting her to be there, so he was kind of shocked and thrown off his plan. And then Ethan was there also. Maybe it wasn't normal for Ethan to be there, and that threw him off his plan as well. Which brings us to the best part, your opinions. Please leave your comments and let us know what you think. We've had great interaction on our other videos and would like to continue with this. So do you think these sources hold any credence to what actually happened? Or there's just people that are bored and just making up stuff so that they can keep this story going and have something to talk about? I personally hate that we have to wait until June to try to find out confirmation on a lot of these theories, but I would love to hear what you all think. Go ahead and comment. Try to keep them respectful. We don't need any fighting, but if you have a strong opinion, go ahead and let us hear it. And always remember, everyone mentioned in this, especially Bryan Kohberger, has not been convicted of anything. This is all speculation, rumors, hearsay, and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. With that said, we're going to call it a wrap on this video. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you real soon.